Today's lesson is interviewing for a university. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
Hello, I'm Kiki.
And we are beginning a two-day dialogues. We're going to have 4 little dialogues all about interviewing for a university, getting to know people, getting settled in at your new school, which is always a bit of an intimidating thing. You're going to a whole new school, all new classmates and teachers, and a whole new culture often, right? At a university, very different from a high school. So let's see some different things you can do to make yourself comfortable. The first dialogue we have is titled Making a Self-Introduction. Useful, of course, when meeting new friends at school, but also at a new job, or even just hanging out at a cocktail party, meeting people, that kind of thing, making small talk. So let's get into it and listen to the first part of today's lesson. Interviewing for a university. 1. Making a self-introduction. James and Professor Smith are meeting in a conference room for James's university interview. Okay, James, to get the ball rolling, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm currently attending high school in Taichung, and I've been a big reader since childhood. When I was a kid, I read many Chinese translations of British and American classics, which sparked my desire to delve into the English language.
All right, very good. Now, if you could describe yourself using just 3 adjectives, what would they be and why?
I describe myself as curious, adaptable, and empathetic. Curiosity drives my passion for learning. Adaptability enables me to deal well with challenges, and empathy helps me foster meaningful relationships with people of various backgrounds.
大家好，第一部分我们来看单字 conference， 它是名词，表示会议或是研讨会。例如 The manager scheduled a conference to discuss the company's expansion plans. 经理安排了一场会议来讨论公司的扩张计划。又或者说 Teresa went to a teacher's conference to share her teaching experience. Teresa 参加了一个教师研讨会，分享她的教学经验。接下来是 spark 这个动词，它表示引发或是引起。例如Madeline's politically incorrect comments on TV sparked a huge backlash in the media. Madeline 在电视上的政治不正确评论，在媒体中引发强烈反弹。又或者说 Seeing a man set foot on the moon sparked Matt's lifelong interest in space. 看见人类踏上月球，激发了 Matt 毕生对太空的兴趣。下一个来介绍名词 curiosity， 它的意思是好奇心或是求知欲。例如Small children often show great curiosity about the world. 小孩常常展现对世界巨大的好奇心。又或者说 For Denise, a simple online search often turns into hours of reading articles because her curiosity takes over. 对于 Denise 来说，一个简单的网络搜寻往往都会变成好几个小时的文章阅读，因为她被自己的求知欲给掌控了。
All right, so our first dialogue for today is making a self-introduction. So usually when we are interviewing, we will have to introduce ourselves in a way to let the interviewers get to know us better. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at a conversation between Professor Smith and James. James is a student that is in high school, and he wants to interview for university with Professor Smith. Okay, so let's begin. I will be Professor Smith.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that sounds good. Our little introduction sentence there before the professor begins, it says, James and Professor Smith are meeting in a conference room for James's university interview. I already feel James's nervousness coming off him. They're doing this little meeting or this interview in a conference room. A conference is basically a meeting of some kind. It could be a little bit bigger than imagine your standard office meeting, and a conference might actually feature a speaker talking or giving a lecture to an audience. So we imagine a larger type of room, maybe with a little stage, a little speaking platform, and seats for, 20 to 40 people, something like that. So they're doing this in a private place where they can sit down and have a nice chat. And yeah, so Professor Smith kicks it all off.
Okay, James, to get the ball rolling, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? So to start the interview, I'm sure James, he walks into the conference room. He might be a little bit nervous, but Professor Smith seems kind of nice. So he's going to try to encourage James. And he says to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
When we get the ball rolling, we want to start something. When we're playing a game, right? We want to get the ball rolling. We want to throw the ball around to kind of warm up a bit. And also it's to indicate to James that he could get started with something that he feels a little more comfortable with. So he's going to ask him to start talking a little bit about himself.
That's right. You push the ball, and once the ball's rolling, it continues rolling, and the action can carry on. There's actually another sports term. He might say, okay, James, to kick things off. Like you might kick off the ball at the beginning of a soccer or football game. So yeah, so to start off, in other words, tell me a bit about yourself. And James does. He says, sure, of course, no problem. I'm currently attending high school in Taichung, and I've been a big reader since childhood. Okay, so there's a few facts there. We kind of know his age. He's probably a senior in high school in Taichung. And he also adds in a little bit of extra information, one of his hobbies. He's a big reader since childhood. He could also call himself a bookworm, someone who really enjoys reading just for pleasure, for fun, not only to study for school, but it's something they do to entertain themselves in their free time. And then he adds some more information about himself. When I was a kid, I read many Chinese translations of British and American classics, which sparked my desire to delve into the English language. Very, very cool. So not only is he a reader, he is a reader of books or literature, stories from around the world, specifically from Britain, North America, English stories, in other words. But of course, he was reading the Chinese translations. A translation is when we take a work that is in a certain language and change it to another language so that people who don't speak the original language can still understand it. If you've read a really long book, like, say, the entire Harry Potter series, and your English isn't so good, that might be a lot of hard work. So you can enjoy it much more if you can find the Chinese or the Korean or Japanese translation of that. A very smart person who is good and skilled at both languages will basically rewrite the book, not changing too much, but rewrite the book in a language that is familiar to people who don't speak, as I said, the original language. So there you go. So he loves those kinds of stories. Maybe he read Harry Potter, maybe he's into action adventure, maybe he's into Shakespeare, who knows, but he likes those British and American classics. And this sparked his desire to delve into the English language. What do we mean here when we're using spark as a verb like this?
Well, when we think of the word spark, you're thinking of something that's kind of exploding.
Yeah, it's like a tiny little bit of fire.
Right, a fire that has lit up inside. And actually, in real life, when you light something up, like when you use a lighter, it actually does spark, right? When you have a spark, it can start a fire. Okay, so a spark of something can make someone want to do something else. Okay, so in this case, because he loved reading these British and American classics, it sparked his desire. So it really lit up his interest in wanting to read more in English. Okay, so it really helped him to want to learn maybe the English language some more.
Very, very cool. All right, back to Professor Smith. He's got some more questions for James.
Okay, so he's quite impressed by James and his maybe all of the books that he has read, especially classic English books. So he wants to find out more. All right, very good. Now, if you could describe yourself using just 3 adjectives, what would they be and why?
Wow.
Okay, that is actually a really hard question to answer because it gets the interviewee really thinking about themselves and the qualities of themselves that they want to share with the person that is interviewing them.
True. A lot of us could talk about ourselves, our interests, our hobbies, our dreams, but to boil it all down to 3 adjectives about yourself, yeah, that is a bit of a challenge. Well, James maybe is prepared. He's thought about this. He's kind of sure this is a kind of question that a professor might ask. So he's got an answer ready to go. He says, I'd describe myself as curious, adaptable, and empathetic. So curious, he wants to know more about the world. He's adaptable. He can change to fit different situations. You know, he's not kind of stuck in one way of doing things. And empathetic, that means, he's interested in trying to understand other people's feelings, other people's experiences and situations. In other words, we might say he's good at putting himself in other people's shoes, kind of thinking, I've never done that. That's never happened to me. But if it did, how would I feel? So there you go. And then he also says, curiosity drives my passion for learning. Okay? So of course, yeah, if you're curious, you have lots of questions about the world, you find lots of things interesting, and you want to know more. Okay? So curiosity would be the noun form of curious. Many questions. It drives his passion for learning. Of course, if you want to learn stuff, you got to ask questions. You're interested in gaining more information and knowledge. His next adjective was adaptable, and here he uses adaptability, the noun form, the ability to adapt or change to certain situations. His adaptability enables him, or enables me, he says, to deal well with challenges, because not every challenge or problem or difficulty you face in life can be fixed or solved in the same way. So you have to be able to shift or change or adapt. And empathy helps me foster meaningful relationships with people of various backgrounds. So that's fantastic. If you're fostering relationships, you're sort of growing, developing, nurturing relationships. And if he meets people from Taiwan, people similar to him, of course he has a lot in common. But if he meets a student from Brazil or Nigeria or Siberia, who knows where, he's able to kind of find things that they have in common and learn from them and teach them things and basically grow relationships with people who he might not have a lot in common with. He sounds like a real world citizen,
Right. Well, he has introduced himself a bit, but we're going to find out a little bit more about him later. So first, we're going to listen to part 2, our second dialogue.
2. Extracurricular activities. Professor Smith circles back to an earlier response.
It seems like you have a strong enthusiasm for reading and languages. Do you participate in any extracurricular activities relevant to that?
Yes, I write for the school newspaper, which has sharpened my writing in Chinese. But I'm also working on my English writing skills specifically. In addition, I used to serve as the president of my school's English club.
That's impressive. Can you tell me more about the English club?
Certainly. During our weekly meetings, we would engage in a variety of activities to enhance our English communication skills and build a sense of community, including group discussions, book readings, and film screenings.
第二部分先介绍 extracurricular 这个形容词的意思是课外的。例如 The school offers several extracurricular programs for students. 学校提供学生多种课外活动。又或者说 Jamie's mother encouraged him to take part in extracurricular activities. Jamie 的母亲鼓励他参加一些课外活动。接着是名词 enthusiasm， 它指的是热忱或是热情。举例来说 Rebecca has a lot of enthusiasm for the work that she does. Rebecca 对她所从事的工作充满热忱。也可以说 The hotel's manager greets every guest with great enthusiasm. 饭店经理以十足的热情来招呼宾客。再来看到 sharpen 这个单字，它是动词，意思是改善或是提升。例如 Due to poor sales performance, our department decided to sharpen the sales strategy. 由于销售业绩不佳，我们部门决定改善行销策略。又或者说 Years of work experience have sharpened my negotiation skills considerably. 多年的工作经验大大提升了我的谈判技巧。最后介绍 enhance 这个动词， 它有提高或是增进的意思。举例来说 Molly added some rosemary to the dish to enhance its flavors. Molly 在这道菜里加了一些迷迭香来增添风味。
Okay, we're back. In our second dialogue, we're listening to extracurricular activities.
Ooh.
Okay, so a lot of students nowadays, you shouldn't just focus on your grades because a lot of university look at your extracurricular activities or ECAs.
Ooh,
this
ECAs.
One, yeah.
I've never heard that term before.
This was something we used to do a lot at school, especially me. I was in all sorts of ECAs.
Wow.
For ECAs in Taiwan, I think most students will know them as clubs.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Okay, but basically, extracurricular means something that you're doing that is outside your school's curriculum or something that you're doing that is not what your teachers are telling you to do. So also known as your clubs, right? You're doing something outside of your schoolwork. So it's extra, okay? So extracurricular activities are very important for when you're applying for university, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm sure Professor Smith wants to find out if he's only a bookworm, if he's interested in doing something else. Okay, so our introduction sentence is Professor Smith circles back to an earlier response, okay? So he must have heard something James said that is interesting, so he has circled back. He has come back to want to find out more about what James has said. So Professor Smith says, it seems like you have a strong enthusiasm for reading and languages. Do you participate in any extracurricular activities relevant to that? So he thinks that he's really enthusiastic about reading and different languages because we know that he's read Chinese translation of books, but he's also started to learn English and read some books in English as well. So we have the word enthusiasm. When you're enthusiastic about something, you're really passionate about something and you really want to learn more and you want to understand more. Okay, our next word is relevant. So relevant is to relate to something else. So now he's asking, okay, you like to read books. So did you do any other activities that are related to reading or other languages, like English club, for example.
Book clubs, maybe even if has a part-time job at the local library or something. That could be relevant to his passion or enthusiasm for reading. And, of course, James does. He says, yes, I write for the school newspaper. Cool. Which has sharpened my writing in Chinese, but I'm also working on my English writing skills specifically. So it's not just English writing that he's interested in. Writing in general here, of course, for the school newspaper. He's writing in Chinese for the student population, and that's sharpened his writing skills. When you improve your skills, when you make them better, when you develop them, when you grow and just become more skillful at something, you can sharpen them. Or we also use another word for sharpen, to hone. You hone your writing skills. And both of these words can also be used for, sharpening your kitchen knives, right? You sharpen your knife or something like that. But
to make it better,
to make it better, improve it, of course, either as a knife, but also as your skills. In addition, he says, I used to serve as the president of my school's English club. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I would imagine he would be a perfect candidate to be the president of that club. And the professor likes what he's hearing.
Right. Professor says, that's impressive. Can you tell me more about the English club? So he's really impressed. He really likes what he hears about what James is saying because what he's talking about is related to a lot of the things that he enjoys to do. So he wants to know more about the English club.
And James, since he's enthusiastic and passionate about it, he'll talk about it all day long. He says, certainly, of course, I'll tell you more. During our weekly meetings, we would engage in a variety of activities to enhance our English communication skills and build a sense of community. I'll pause there. He uses that word enhance, kind of like sharpen, kind of like improve, to develop, to make better, to get more skillful at. So he's developing the English communication skills of both himself and the club members. And they're also building a sense of community, just creating a group of friends. I'm sure a lot of them hang out together and do stuff on the weekends, that kind of thing, a sense of community, a sense of family or group togetherness, including including group discussions, talking about books, book readings, reading their favorite books, and film screenings, watching movies based probably on their favorite books. A screening is kind of a showing of a movie. If you're watching a movie at home, you wouldn't really say, I had a personal screening of a movie on Saturday. It was me and my DVD player. No, it would be sort of, rent a room or organize an activity, plan it, have people come. Not really like a movie theater, more just like sort of a part-time activity. If there's a certain special movie that you want a bunch of people who are interested to watch, you might organize a screening or a special showing of a certain film. So there you go. I think James has knocked this out of the park.
Yeah,
He's done a real good interview.
That's right. We'll see what happens next in tomorrow's article, but let's go to our favorite Chinese teacher first, Henny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， James 和 Professor Smith 在一间会议室会面，要准备进行 James 的大学面试。好，我们看到文中用到 conference room 来指会议室。那么 conference 它就有会议啊、研讨会的意思。其实这是来自动词 confer C-O-N-F-E-R。 那我们来学它的字首字根。好，看到 F-E-R 这个字根，它有携带、运送或是承受、承担的意思。那在 confer 这个字当中，它的字首 C-O-N 表示一起， F-E-R 表示承担。碰到问题要一起承担的时候，大家会一起商讨解决办法嘛，因此 confer 它就有商讨、协商的意思咯。然后我们在后面加上名词字尾 E-N-C-E 就会得到这个名词 conference。 好，那我们顺便补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 infer， 它的字首 I-N 表示在什么什么之中， F-E-R 表示携带。那在面对某个情况时，我们把自己的想法带进那个情况中，去推论猜想事情的来龙去脉，这样也许就能联想到 infer 它有推论、推断或是猜想的意思。第二个补充的是 suffer， 它的字首 S-U-F 是来自 S-U-B， 表示在下方。那么 F-E-R 有承担、承受的意思，在下方承担，可以想象出那种忍受负荷的画面。用这样的方式，也许可以联想到 suffer， 它有受苦、受折磨的意思。好，那在课文第二部分的对话里， James 提到他曾经担任学校英研社的社长，在他们每周聚会期间会参与各种活动来提升英语沟通技能和建立社群意识。好，那文中是用 a variety of activities 来表达各种活动。那么 a variety of 加名词就是表达各种的啊，各式各样的什么什么。variety 前面也可以加上形容词，像 wide、large、great 等等。举例来说，There are a wide variety of food options on the menu. 菜单上有各式各样的食物可以选。好，那这边也补充其他可以表达各式各样的说法，像 a range of 它是表达一系列的什么，那我们可以用 a wide range of, a whole range of, a broad range of, a full range of 再加名词去表达种类多元的各式各样的什么什么。像 the shop sells a broad range of toys 就是表达那间店有卖各式各样的玩具。好，那另外我们还可以用到这个 all kinds of, all sorts of, all types of 还有 all manner of 这些也可以表达各式各样的什么，只是要注意 manner 在这个用法当中它是固定用单数，像 all manner of musical instruments 就可以表达各式各样的乐器。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Conference. Professor Wheeler will be attending a conference on climate change this weekend. Translation. Fans are looking forward to an English translation of the novel. Spark. The coach's powerful speech sparked a renewed sense of passion in the team. Curiosity. Daisy's curiosity led her to explore every corner of the old house. Enthusiasm. Mr. Kelly has great enthusiasm for poetry. Relevant. Please provide only relevant details in your report.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.